tonight, tonight, tonight. Blow the ceiling off the party to the moon. See my partner Joe's like and ain't no telling what he on. Bitches up tonight. I probably edited that. I don't know. It's been like a day. Probably just gonna upload it or two. I promise y'all, I feel like, or I was probably going to record yesterday, but yesterday was my cousin's birthday, so I didn't want to leave him do the recording and do his birthday. And WrestleMania was yesterday, but today is also WrestleMania 42, and tonight is night 2 because today is Sunday. Night 1 was I don't know why that whole Randy shit is fucking terrible. I got a playlist and it's locked and it's 81 views. What is the 81 views myself? Or because I got 98 videos, 81 views, that means sometimes I can't even look back on the video, or it's like, who's watching this? I got some questions, but we're not gonna do it right now. We're gonna be watching the GrandLineReview again today. I didn't get a chance to do the video yesterday or the day before because I was doing all that. So today we're gonna finally sit down and watch it, and after that we got another video coming soon. I got all these videos in like a playlist. I got one video here that I really want to talk about with y'all, but I feel like I'm gonna save it for after WrestleMania. Which one? We're gonna get GrandLineReview. Let's get to it.
It's time for a new kind of value menu. Hello, Daenerys.
Ads are like 30 seconds on here. I'm going to talk to y'all for a little minute until it plays. Yeah, that night 1 was a good 4 out of 10. I knew Bianca was pregnant when she wasn't even strutting all the way down to the ring. There you go.
Elle knew. For the dawn of the world, and this chapter also featured an Elle on the cover page, and so perhaps this is a reference to something.
Oh no.
And gods.
I forgot they had previewed the shit. I be hating that.
Emu has shown his true power. He has defeated both Sanji and Zoro with ease. The whole nights are free, and right now our only hope is that Emu runs out of time to act before he causes us irreversible problems. So when I read this chapter for the first time, I went by it quite furiously quickly. It's very action heavy, and that is quite dangerous because there's an assumption made that you can either have action or you can have a story. And when there's heavy action, there's going to be minimal story, but not in the case of this chapter. Zoro has packed quite a bit into this experience, which may even give away how the inevitable clash between Luffy and Emu is going to play out, but we have to start with Emu's design, because we have a much more detailed look at it in this chapter, and there's a couple of very curious details to note. One of which is that Emu's body appears to be covered in dots, which could be Oda invoking House Sabaody, which is a religion that focuses on interacting with powerful spirits, often ancient ancestors, which are invoked through possession rituals, which we have seen Emu do twice now, as well as music and dance, which was performed when the houses and trees came to life to announce Emu Nirona's presence. But also, if you look at this panel of Zoro standing off against Emu, and if you look just to the right of Zoro, you can see the number 460 very clearly highlighted, because it appears in the negative space that Oda uses to separate Zoro in the foreground from Emu in the background. And numbers in One Piece are almost always important.
How people be noticing this shit, and I'm just not fucking with him. In these mangas, especially Grand Line, GR. I'm just calling GrandLine. How he notices these details is amazing, and I don't know if this stuff be true or not. So I'm thinking this stuff is true with GrandLineReview, because you went to extent. That's the one thing I'm about to get by the One Piece community. They will find, if something's in that book, they will find the meaning or the detail behind it. Which is crazy. Which is crazy because they still got some people who don't. it got people in the community who got mad because Brooke is black. That's crazy. I think somebody said it. Y'all watch what y'all want to watch.
One piece are almost always important. Oda doesn't just insert them randomly, especially not onto the designs of major characters like this. The numbers, they always have some meaning. And the most immediate response that I've seen to this is that it could be a reference to chapter 460, which was called Conquest Before Dawn, with Conquest being what Emu is engaging in, ideally before the dawn of the world. And this chapter also featured an L on the cover page, and so perhaps this is a reference to something gods. I mean, despite how popular this idea seems to be, this is almost certainly not it, in my opinion. Because Oda rarely, if ever, I can't think of a situation where he's done this, he doesn't make references like that back to stuff like his own chapter numbers. And this sort of thinking reminds me a lot of the infamous Picnic with Zombies color spread, where people were seriously predicting that Zoro was going to die in chapter 944 because he was sitting on a grave that had the number 944 written on it. So the 460 is probably not the chapter number, but it is almost certainly Gorowase, which is using the various different ways that you can say Japanese numbers to create Japanese words with numbers exclusively. And whilst my Japanese is a bit too pathetic to decipher it, I think it is very interesting that we have a 4 and a 6 together, which can be read as Yomu, which sounds an awful lot like Luffy's trademark 56, which can be read as Gomu. And so the 4 perhaps signifies Imu's status in the lineup of gods who have taken turns creating the world in their own image, with Luffy's 5 indicating that it's the sun god's turn next, and perhaps the god before Emu, the forest god, or even the earth god, would have had the number 36 as its trademark, Sun Moon, something like that. I'll have a much better idea of what Emu's number is saying by the next video. However, for now, it is possible that Luffy's 56 has deeper meaning than just referencing his devil fruit ability, especially considering that Gomu Gomu isn't even the name of his devil fruit. So this 56, maybe it's meant something else all along. Also, I have a problem, and that problem is my mother. You see, Mother's Day is just around the corner, lurking there, and I, as a horrible son, have forgotten to buy her a gift. But here to save the day is the sponsor of today's video, Raycon. From early mornings to late nights, Mum is always on the go, and this Mother's Day, I have decided to treat
WrestleMania.
Can continue to bring you the best fictional pirate content possible as often as possible. So definitely check Raycon out, but for now it's back to you, me. But Emu begins this chapter properly by more or less teleporting into the village and asking who the king of Elbaf is, to which Dory and Broggy reply that this country, mate, it has no king. I did think that that was a surprising thing to ask, because I guess I assumed that Emu already knew that there was no king. In chapter 1150, Emu said that Dory and Broggy would be charged with killing Elder Jarl, and then announcing to the people that they are the kings of Elbaf, which to me said that Emu had some understanding of the situation of the island, that no one was king, but Jarl was looked towards as an elder figure, so now you've got to get rid of him before the new kings can be announced. But I don't know, maybe I just read that completely incorrectly. However, after spotting St. Summers being held by Gerd, Emu in the blink of an eye slices off 4 of Gerd's fingers in order to free Summers in one of the most horrifying panels that I've ever seen in One Piece. Although I have seen the instant finger slice in a few other series though, and it always gets me. The idea that you just look down to see your fingers disintegrating in front of you and you have no idea why. It is such a creepy effect. I don't think this will do any permanent damage to Gerd though, because Chopper is of course here as well, so I'm sure that he'll be able to get those fingers reattached fairly easily. But I suppose what I find more intriguing is the restraint that Emu has shown here, because as this chapter goes on, it becomes extremely clear that Emu is just on a whole different level to anyone else on this island. And so I like that Emu only used the bare minimum power necessary to free St. Summers. He just cut off the 4 parts of Gerd that were restraining him. And not even the full fingers either, he just sliced off the tips. And that is a pattern of efficiency that you'll notice from Emu in 1180, as he goes on a bit of a spree, but he uses the bare minimum approach, which we also see in the slicing of Stanson's leg, which got in the way to defend Harutin. And personally, I think that this this is because Emu has to be very, very careful with just how much power he uses. In this chapter, Emu tells Summers that he cannot waste any time, again emphasizing that Emu is on a clock, and so every bit of power that he does use may accelerate that clock, which may also be why Emu was so understated in dealing with Zoro, who does attempt to attack the King of the World with a King of Hell Purgatory Onigiri, which Emu easily blocks with his tail, almost Aizen Bleach style, with Emu then using his ability Omen to blow Zoro away, kind of like being hit in the face with a very violent bullet. So we'll talk about Omen in a bit, because there's a surprising amount to dig into there. However, I do want it to be said that Zoro tried to use a King of Hell attack against a man who you may actually be able to refer to as a more literal King of Hell. The dude's a devil. And so Emu, an actual King of Hell, shows that Zoro has a long, long way to go if he wants to achieve that title. And right now, Zoro, he's more like an average citizen of Hell, or maybe even a permanent resident of Hell. He might not even have citizenship, at least not according to his performance here. But in summary, Zoro tanked an Omen that had more of a bullet-like effect, but Haradin then faced an Omen which caused a colossal explosion, whilst Emu gave Saint Summers an Omen that healed and strengthened him. There's a lot of variety going on here, and I feel like in modern English the word omen tends to have a purely negative connotation, but an omen, it could be both good and bad, just like the way that Emu uses the omen in this chapter. And furthermore, omens can also be quite difficult to interpret one way or the other, which is a bit of a problem when they signify incoming great good or great evil. I would prefer to know which one it is, but I do feel like this is very appropriate for Emu, because I am increasingly less and less sure exactly where he falls on the good and evil spectrum, at least according to how he's being written by Oda, as well as Vegapunk's refusal to label Emu as either good or evil in his death speech. And one of the ways that this chapter continues to question that is by having Emu save Saint Summers, Saint Killingham, and even Gunko, maybe. And this isn't something I subscribe to because Oda was portraying Emu a bit too sympathetically, but after the release of chapter 1179, there was a lot of speculation that Emu was going to arrive and give his Holy Knights the Saint Saturn treatment to do something like absorb their life force in order to grant himself more time or power to conduct whatever actions he needs to. But he didn't do that. He came to Elbaf and he rescued his Holy Knights. So there's a fair bit of mercy being shown here, considering their utter failure. And look, back to the Omen business, I don't know if these two things are related at all, but it is Endgame One Piece, and so connections they're becoming increasingly easy to make. But Emu's Omen, at least when it was being used on Saint Summers, seems to take the form of a sinister halo, and that may actually be seen in the Elbaf mural. There's a section on the bottom right of some dudes on a kind of conveyor belt thing, with the ones on the left side appearing to mine what is hypothesized to be the Mother Flame, but on the right side we've got some guys either emerging from or descending into the Hell Flame equipped with black halos. And another thing, again, I don't know if this is just the insanity speaking and seeing connections where there may be none, but the total number of people shown in this conveyor belt section is 19. So this could be telling the story of the 19 founding monarchs of the world government being corrupted, remembering that yes, there were 20, but the Nefertaris avoided this corruption. And as always, it's important to note how this Omen ability is spelt in Japanese, as it may add important context to another part of the chapter and even the greater series itself. Omen is written with the following kanji, with the furigana for that kanji reading as omaki, which is the word for omen. However, this is one of those complicated Japanese things, because furigana, the little characters above the kanji, furigana is usually used to show people how to pronounce the kanji that they either do not know or kanji that may have different readings, and thus result in different words. However, the furigana in fiction is often used more as an avenue of creative expression, and not necessarily show us how the words strictly linguistically function. Hunter x Hunter does this a lot. Author Yoshihiro Togashi will create certain nen abilities with two names, one in kanji and one in furigana, with the furigana having absolutely nothing to do with the kanji, and just allowing Togashi a bit of extra creative expression. But all of this is a very long-winded way of saying that Emu's technique isn't literally read the way that Oda writes the furigana, and it's actually simply read as maki, meaning
fucking ads. And it's fucking 50 seconds. The chapter is going good. I'm not lying, yeah. I just wonder in the book, I'm about to read it probably. Well, too. Did Emu get more words exchanged with Luffy? But the problem is, I don't know when. But I gotta say, by the end of this arc, they got it. Luffy got it. Luffy got it. I wouldn't say got it. He's probably going to know what his devil fruit is. And I don't know what island they can go to next. That's the craziest thing. I feel like that's what's the crazy thing about Elbaf. We don't know what island we're going to after them. Some people say Laptail, but if that happens, that means it's the end of the One Piece.
Demonic or devilish aura. And of course it draws an immediate similarity to the word Haki, the core power system of the One Piece world. And this is likely extremely relevant because we have a few panels of Scopogaban in this chapter. He's reacting to the energy that he's feeling coming from Imu's general direction, and he states that he's never felt Haki like this before, not even during God Valley where he did feel Imu's Haki. And that could be because Scopogaban is not sensing Imu's Haki, he's sensing Imu's Maki. And it could go even further than that. It may even be the case that Emu as a being is so inherently different from every other living thing that he himself does not have access to Haki. And in the cases that Emu did use Haki, he was only able to activate it by channeling the Haki through the human vessels of Gunko and J. Garcia Saturn. But we do also see the Black Lightning effect happening in this chapter. So look, in the worst case scenario, Emu has access to both Haki and Maki. But if
So everybody has the same type of Haki? For me, I'm asking this, so doesn't it mean everybody has the same type of Haki? Like I said, everybody's Haki is the same. Versus Emu, her Haki is her own energy. Like you combine Haki, all types of Haki, and then you got Emu, who has all the types of Haki, but he combined it into one. And what came out is her handmade type of Hamaki. I'm just call it Hamaki. That'd be crazy. Oh yeah, and I forgot I did say that to y'all. Yeah, after this is done. No more. I'm not gonna say no more grand. I wouldn't say no. I sound like it, but no more GrandLineReview chapters because I'm gonna be leaving. I'm gonna be strictly anime. I'm gonna try my hardest to be strictly anime during the Elbaf arc, which the newest chapter, I believe the newest episode of One Piece comes out today. The same as I think Reincarnated Slime comes out today. I want to react to that, but the whole recording process and yeah, just the whole recording process is much more of a headache for some reason with me. I remember I did do a reaction. I think it was to... What anime was that? I think it was One Piece. Not on the channel. I'm talking about on the phone. I mean, not on the phone, on my recording system. So that was like a big problem. I can try again, but it's gonna take a while.
But if it turns out this way, I do like the idea of Emu being so separated from humanity that he has to have his own unique form of Haki. And also to invoke certain parts of his Maki, Emu makes a very specific hand gesture. This is a mudra, which are a symbolic series of gestures or seals used in both Hinduism and Buddhism to facilitate the flow of energy. However, I'd very much like to focus in on Buddhism in particular, as this has been one of the major speculations regarding Emu. Because Emu's name is written in katakana, you have E and Mu. However, when you put those symbols together, they also form the kanji for Buddha. So Imu's connection to or representation of Buddha has been noted for quite some time, which may or may not be quite greatly concerning for us due to Luffy's connection to Sun Wukong. Because in Journey to the West, Sun Wukong, he causes all sorts of assorted chaos in the realm of gods, and he does challenge Buddha directly. However, Wukong is humbled, to say the very least, and is then imprisoned under a mountain for 500 years. Now, I'm not saying that exact thing is going to happen to Luffy. Probably not. But right now we have Luffy and his crew literally dismantling Imu's Holy Knights, and if this fight does get taken to the astral realm of Elbaf, then we could even parallel Wukong causing chaos in heaven. And I think we're at the point where, sure, yes, this is wildly theoretical, but there are a few too many links to ignore. And Oda, he is very, very well aware of what he's doing here. So at this point, my prediction would be for Luffy to challenge Imu and receive his first post-time skip gift of loss, having our cheeky monkey being humbled by Buddha just as Sun Wukong was. But in any case, Imu, he grants Summers some power, and then they both just off, even Summers. With Imu sprouting black...
Oh. Now that's a good wall. I want that for wallpaper now. That's crazy. What if, like, GrandLine just made me think, what if Imu is not the top dog? What if Imu, like, think about it. What if Imu is like, Garp, or Sengoku? Like, what if that's what they are? What if Imu is like is official? It's like Garp or Sengoku in the world, in the One Piece world. I think that's crazy. But this is a dope picture.
Black wings as he swiftly flies across Elbaf, which definitely strengthens the idea that he was originally a Lunarian because they look exactly like King's wings. But whilst flying, Imu spots a frozen Gunko, and Imu, he fires an explosive, something or other at her, which I think is intended to free her from the ice. But what happened here is actually left quite vague in this chapter. We don't see the results of this. But if Imu can break the ice, then that would counter what Loki said about Ragnir being the only being who can unfreeze its own ice, and that may have implications for the frozen Galilard giants on Punk Hazard, because if there is another way to get them out, then it's possible that Imu himself could find them, or someone who steals and or inherits the power of Imu, like say a Blackbeard. We'll see though. It's a bit of a funny flyby because Imu just shoots Kumko and moves on. Obviously because he doesn't have the time to head over there and gently release her. But Imu then arrives at Sanji's group to free St. Gilliam, and this is a very fun clash because Sanji then pulls a Zoro and tries to attack Imu with his devilish attack Diablo Jumbo. And in response, Sanji himself, he gets kicked. Not just kicked, he gets kicked by a leg, and not just a leg coated in black flames. So in the same way that Zoro got humbled by the true King of Hell, Sanji is now being humbled by a being who embodies the title of Blackleg far more powerfully and literally than he does. But what I like here is that both wings of the Pirate King, they used their demonic devilish attacks and they couldn't do anything at all against an actual demon. And so both wings of the Pirate King got properly cooked in this chapter. And you know what? It's been a while since we've seen Zoro and Sanji, mostly Zoro, get one shot. Very unusual this late into the series, but that does leave us with only two possible options left to confront Imu with, being Luffy and Loki. And we do actually see Luffy very briefly in this chapter. He is very slowly recovering and continuing to eat copious amounts of food. However, it's Loki who we end the chapter with, as Imu's objective of freeing the Holy Knights has been completed. However, his secondary objective is to find the person who killed King Harold, his prized servant. And so we have a fantastic page of Loki standing over Imu with this beautifully ominous shading, and usually I think I'd be feeling pretty terrified for whoever Loki...
The anime is gonna eat that shit up. Once we get to that part, this part right here, I'm calling it now. I'm gonna call it now. This right here, Luffy riding Loki on the dragon when he's a dragon form. Imu being revealed Usopp, that one Usopp moment, I can. They gonna be riding that shit. They gonna have a high riding that shit. And Rocks and Emu's steady instead. Rocks and Emu's laboratory, place, go flower garden. That's those 5. Those 5 will be the top One Piece moments of this arc.
The Loki is looking down upon, but after Emu's display in this chapter, I'm actually feeling a bit scared for Loki. I don't know if I'm reading a bit too much into this, but Loki's pose is the exact same one that Oda used to draw him as a child, which means that I see Loki standing like this, and what I get is the vibe of a child trying to, smack talk an adult, and then promptly being shown the strength of an adult like Loki being beaten up by Rock. And that does make sense to a degree because Loki is 63 years old, but that is still an adolescent compared to Emu's time on this planet. And while
I won't say, because he did get into a fight with Shanks, so he knows how to fight. So I'm not gonna put him out just yet.
whilst Emu has been quite reserved with his power until now, Loki may end up being an exception. And I don't know if Emu was looking to kill Loki for taking Harold away, or perhaps looking to take control of Loki to fill Harold's place, but the situation on Elbaf has officially flipped. After feeling far too easy for far too long, we now face what seems to be an impossible power, with our only hope being that Emu runs out of time. But as always, you let me know what you thought about the chapter in the comments below.
Fucking loved it. But that's a problem. Remember, all this is some, I forgot whose video I saw. But he keeps saying the same thing I'm saying. Shanks, there ain't no way Emu is stepping on this island and Shanks is not popping up at the end of it. I will be shocked if we are on the middle of the story on the next island and Shanks doesn't pop up. And tell you the truth, I don't feel like we're not even halfway done with this now. Cause now Emu, when he brought up the higher realm, which I did forget about, Shanks may be like dead, right? Return dead set like near the end. Cause if GrandLineReview is somehow right about them doing a parallel to Luffy, aka I forgot the name of the market, but Luffy getting kicked down from the heaven realm, we are halfway. I say we a good 30 to 40% done. It's just the fact that this is literally Shanks' territory. That's the one reason why I believe this has taken longer than why we have more time now, especially with this chapter right here. Specifically because this is Shanks' territory. And we have no idea where he was going next. Because remember last time he was dealing with Bartolomeo. Kid is gone, Law is gone for right now. Bonnie, oh yeah, shit, I forgot about Bonnie. I forgot she's still on the island. But they got into the end of this arc to get rid of Bonnie. Do something with her, just as long as she's not on the crew. What did they ever say what they did with Kuma's body? Cause it's starting to look like Kuma was alive. The way they keep showing them and stuff. I don't know. Well, I enjoyed that video. I got my yap on. See y'all later. Bye.